Among the most grotesque creations of Skaven fleshcrafting, a brood terror emerges when a deranged master molder is forcibly merged with a hulking beast. These hulking abominations possess a dual consciousness, their mismatched heads oscillating unpredictably between feral fury and twisted intellect. Shrouded in toxic, ever-shifting vapors that warp flesh and bone, they advance with a shambling gait that masks a terrifying determination. A rusted, serrated hook dangles from one mangled appendage, snaring victims to pull them within reach. Once ensnared, prey faces annihilation, either engulfed in searing warp fire spat from the creature's smoldering maw, or swiftly dismembered by a frenzy of bladed appendages that twitch and slice with unnatural speed.
Welcome back to my channel, everyone. In this video, I'll be painting the Brood Terror. So actually, this is a collection of videos from my live, and what I've done, I've just put them together in a nice, concise format, just to make it easier for you guys. In this video, I'll just be showing like how I painted the base first. The base is 3D printed, but I will post a link where to find it in the description of the video. Most of this video is just dry brushing. It's pretty simple stuff. I actually painted the skin in another video. If you watch my Help It Abomination, I actually used the same skin, the paints for the skin there. So in this video, I'm just trying out the new P3 paints, which I got from a Kickstarter. And they're pretty fantastic. I'm really enjoying them. They have a very nice consistency to them. And that's basically what I'm doing here. I'm trying out these paints. I'm dry brushing it. It's a bit like slap chopping, to be honest. A lot of my Skaven paint jobs are slap chop, but with some minor tweaks to it. Like here is not really slap chop now. This is literally just, I'm not sure the technical term. It's not over shading, but I'm just painting it by dry brushing it. And the paint's a bit thick. So Frau Fresh, I just tried this one out, and this had a nice color, so I used it for stone. But as I said in other videos, even if the paint's called flesh, then you don't have to use it as like a flesh. You can just use it as a highlight. If you think like some clothing, in this case cobblestone or rocks, it goes well, then yeah, just try it out. As long as it highlights the model and it doesn't look too different, but I guess different enough where it just helps the model become less noisy and it separates each part and highlights the right parts. I mix these paints together, but it's mostly the darker color, Thrall Flesh, and I just add a lot of water to them, and I kind of treat it as a glaze. And I can see like some parts it's a bit thicker, and it really drowns out the purple, and I don't want that. I still want the purple showing through to a degree, so I go back over them with water, and I just try and even out the coat. It's a bit of a lazy way of glazing, but I do find it helps when you're painting many minis, lots of minis, many minis, many minis in a short amount of time. And I think the results are pretty good. It's no golden demon, but it'll look great on the tabletop, which is sometimes the most important part, right? Especially if you're a gamer. Again, I'm using skin, a sickly skin paint. And I'm using this on stone, and you can see how it really highlights it, and it goes very well with the overall theme. And you can see now it's slowly really starting to become has a lot of texture, and it's all coming together. So really play around with paints. Sometimes they might not work, sometimes they might look a bit weird, but that's how we learn, and that's how we become better painters. Trial and error. not really watered down, a little bit, and I'm just painting the recesses. But I feel I didn't really need to use this. I could have just used the AK panel liner paints, but at the same time, this is a good step for shading the model, I felt. So what I did, I added a bunch of water to my brush and just completely went over the model and just started spreading this Garrick sewers around into the recesses mainly, but just staining the whole model basically. You can make it thicker, like in the corners of the rock where maybe dirt will collect, but overall just make it thin and just stain and fill in all those recesses. And as I'm army painting, but this isn't really army paint, this is like a character, but I still like to use those principles. I continue using Garrick sewers, and then I pick out all the areas that need to be brown, like the fur, and I even water down Garrick sewers and paint it at the bottom of a horn or the top of the teeth. And I just kind of stain the bottom of the horn and try and keep the tip a bit cleaner. But it doesn't matter if you mess up here, you can always use your fingers and wipe it off and then paint over it later. So this was a bit tricky. I think painting the fur on these new Skaven is quite hard to find where it ends and where it begins. Like, oh, is this flesh or is this fur? Because it sometimes gets a bit smooth, but it's kind of fun. It's like a puzzle. So I used Midland Flesh, and I felt this paint was fantastic. I really wanted this flesh on top to be really strong and vibrant compared to the rest of the flesh, because it's like a Frankenstein monster type of creation where it's just stitched together with different rats and different rats of different colors and different skin issues. The tail fell off, so I just kept it off and then dry brushed that same color on it. Night Quester Flesh is a really nice paint for dry brushing over the Garrick sewers fur, so I'll definitely be using that in the future. It's even good if you water it down, you can paint over that bright flesh on top and it will actually have a nice transition as well. Sickly skin over the fabric, just like a nice edge highlight, really pick out those raised areas, and also to separate the leg and the body from those loincloths, because when you're dry brushing you might accidentally dry brush over the fabric, so you got to repaint it, so it's a bit tricky. And then I also use it for the teeth as well and the horns, just to edge highlight them, and I even use it on the eyes. They're quite good for eyeballs. Then I go back to the base because it's dry now after using that Garrick sewers, and I just pick out the corners because the paint's thick on my brush now. Pick out the corners first, and then as the paint dries off or there's less paint on my brush, I can actually start dry brushing the whole base like now, you see. And also the fur and the skin, basically the whole model. There's not that much on my brush, but you can see how it picked out all these areas and it just tidies up the model. I think it's a fantastic thing. Again, I'm going back with the skin paint and then painting out the teeth again. It's just going backwards and forwards, picking it out until you're happy with it. And don't forget the bandages. There's so many details in this model I found out that you miss when you're painting it. There's a lot going on. And that's why painting it is fun, but at the same time you've got to think like what colors to add where that can help separate this model to make it easier to read on the eye, or pick out an area you want to highlight the most to draw the eye in. I tried out the metallics from the P3 range and pretty great. I would definitely be using them as well in the future. Pig iron. So yeah, I'm using as I said earlier, the AK panel liner, but this is the Tamiya one, dark brown. I'm just picking out all those little cracks and crevices on the base now, and it just helps. It's just like a finishing touch. And I paint all the brass areas with this arcane blue. It's a very vibrant turquoise. Goes on very well, but 2 coats is enough. And this is just to base it because I'll be I'll be dry brushing these parts later with like a brass or a bronze or a copper, and I want to have that blue showing through. I sub-assembled the backpack and other parts so I can paint the whole model easily and really make my job much easier and to save time. Even on the base as well, this is going to be a dark bronze. And then I've still got paint on my brush, so I just thin it out and then just glaze over the model. So I just glaze over the model to give a nice oxidization effect. This green is a fantastic green. I use it a lot for bases where I have some green liquid. Even for Sylvaneth, they have some green lakes. I will use it for Sylvaneth. Then I'll just glaze it and, add a bit of slimy residue over the model. So this is how the model looks. All blue. Looks very weird. But you can see it's all coming together now. So copper pipe. I use these brushes. I tried using these brushes from AK. Just test them out. They're pretty good. I haven't tried many, to be honest. So far I like it. The other brushes I've got, they're quite cheap. They start to break apart, and then it's just very messy and dusty. But I'm very impressed with this paint. It's very shiny. It goes on really well. It's a dream to work with. P3 is definitely becoming my top favorite paints to use, especially the metallics. Even dry brush the sub-assembled parts too, just to get them ready. And I do a thick dry brush, a heavy dry brush on this pipe. So you can see the blue is still showing through on some parts of it. But you can see that shine. Fantastic. I've glued in parts of it now. Not the whole sub-assembled parts, but I've glued on the side part where the tube comes out. I'm not sure what it's called. It's like a big dome. But I still haven't glued on the backpack yet. Painting the pipes a nice inky by darkness. I find this is a bit more interesting than just painting them black. If it's done red now, add some hotter, warmer colors to it. Pick out some pipes, and then I pick out some of the valves. So I had some Hex-Ray Flame lying around. I thought, oh, I might use that, see what it looks like. And I just like painting the bottles I 3D printed. And I also added a big like gloop of it onto the base. I just start smudging it around. And I didn't thin it at all. Out the pot, very thick. And I just moved it around to see how it would turn out really. And this is how it looks so far. It's really coming together now. So I tidied up this flesh again with the same color, but I just kind of go over the raised areas or areas where it's touching the blue part or the fur or where the metal is touching, because I might have been a bit messy. I even start going over the other parts of the flesh with it, just to add some variety to the tone. Maybe like the arm here, the little bone mandible arm is a bit pinker, just to make it a bit more prominent. And then I kind of dry brush really over all the lumps and bumps. Then I pick out all the exposed skin with the same color. Pick out the tongue as well. Also kind of glaze a little bit over the bottom, the soles of the feet. And on the tail. Now I use Rakeling Flesh Shade, and you can see it's quite thick on the bottom of the bone part. And then what I do, I wash off the brush, wash the Rakeling Flesh Shade off the brush now. And then I kind of spread it around. I feather the Rakeling Flesh Shade, and then I kind of go over all the lumps and the spots. Then once I'm happy with that, I get some more Rakeling, and I kind of cover all the pink areas and the soles of the feet. And then I thought I might try and go over all the fur as well. So then now I just spend some time going over all the fur, and what I found, it really ties it all together. Now I use a white paint just to cover all the crystals and areas that will be glowing green. Any white is fine, but I did try using the P3 white. It's a pretty fantastic one. But seriously, I usually use Corex white, and that works fine too. I also use the Liquitex ink, titanium white. And I found that was quite useful for these kind of grates you can see here. And what you can do, you can add a bit of water to it, and then it will just flow into the recesses, like I'm doing here as well. I highlight the red parts with Evil Suns. You can use a bright red, any kind is fine. And just edge highlight parts and just pick them out. Now I try using the airbrush. I use titanium white, again, the Liquitex ink, and I just missed the bottom of the base over the green. So I'm not completely covering it, but I'm kind of focusing it towards the edges of the rock, the stone, the knees, the actual bone part, the bone arm. I'm just picking out areas that are going to be catching the light from the glowing green sewage water. So I'm holding the model downwards and I'm spraying from above. If that makes sense. Upside down. From below, basically. I even spray the horn as well, just to brighten it up a bit. Then I spray over these areas I painted white and start picking out the areas that will have some slight OSL. I don't want to go too strong with the OSL here, but I might go overboard on some of the other parts, but mistakes happen. Here I added a bit too much white, I would say. So fluorescent yellow. And as soon as this went over, it was just, I loved it. It looked so awesome. And that's just covering the Hexwraith green that I used earlier and the white spray. And then it just comes out like this. I think it's pretty awesome. So I turn the model around just to catch like corners of stones and arms and knees, and just take your time. No need to rush it. Now start picking out areas that might be like the sharpest parts that would be catching some of the brighter highlights. That's why I'm using yellow. Now I use a fluorescent green from AK Interactive, but any fluorescent green is fine. And now I just spray from below and pick out certain areas that would be catching the light. I'm not trying to go too far with it, and I'm only focusing on the front. So the left side of the model, it will be a bit, there'll be not much OSL like here from the ground. There'll be some OSL from the furnace on his arm and the crystal, the warpstone, but the actual ground is like quite normal. There's nothing exciting. This is my favorite part when I paint the rim, because for me it frames the model. I just think it's fantastic and it's so satisfying to see. Now I use Volupus purple, Volupus pink, and then I just paint it where it's been stitched. And then what I do, I get water on the brush and then I feather it again. And I pick out all the tumors and spots, and in the mouth, around the eyes, inside the ears, anywhere where metal as well is protruding out of the flesh, just to make it look painful and swollen. Also around the horn as well and the gums. I go over all the glowing areas with yellow. I use rind flesh. I pick out all the pustules and lumps. And also the eyebrows and the cheeks, ears, and just pick out all the areas now. Even the raised areas of the skin on top. So I can really separate the metal and the fur from the fleshy areas. This step is important for, as I said earlier, it's quite a busy model and you need to be careful when you add colors. So So this step is quite useful for literally separating the parts. And the model's complete. I'm very proud of it. I really had not much idea of how I was going to go about this model for a while. So I put it aside and I was just thinking about it. And then one day I saw this terrain and I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Glow in OSL from below and make it really dynamic. And it turned out how I envisioned, really. I hope this video was useful. Really had a good time with it. I hope you did too. Please leave a like and let me know in the comments what you think of the paint job. Has it inspired you to add any kind of OSL to your Skaven or other models? And also let me know if you want me to paint any other models from the Skaven range. I have so many in my backlog. I'd love to make a video of them. So this is me, Sir Paints a Lot. Take care everyone, happy painting.